Hello and welcome to Stardew Valley. One of the first games that I was thinking of when I changed the subtitle of my YouTube channel to Game Appreciation Channel. Because this game is a little marvel made by one person, which makes it absolutely incredible. Stardew Valley is perhaps a bit simplistic in many ways for certain people, but just a quick side note here, I check for save games because I'm very sure you can't have two characters with the same name at the same time running on your save game, so I just had to define what name to use for my farmer. While the introduction plays out, I'm going to go through a few details, but the game is definitely a passion project, and while simplistic, for some people might even be too simplistic, it is apparently inspired loosely by a game called Harvest Moon, which is a series of games that I wasn't previously aware of. Still not aware of them, to be honest. So for me, Stardew Valley was something completely new. I watched someone play it for a bit, and I decided that I didn't want to get spoiled, so I decided to get it on Steam, and I will make a link in this video pointing directly to Steam for those who might be interested. Your granddad has passed away, but before he passed away he left you a letter and he told you, so if you one day find that life is dreary and you just feel you're stuck in the rut, to open that letter and you find yourself working for Jojo Mart, and you're having one of those days where everything just feels bleh, and that is where you decide to open your granddad's letter, which contains, spoiler spoiler, the deed for whatever you named your farm in Stardew Valley. Your chance to get away from the stress and rush of city life and just build up your farm. The basic gameplay loop is relatively simple. You plant stuff, you maintain it, and you harvest it. But there's an awful lot else going on at the same time, and because you have two restrictions imposed on you, which is your energy level, which directly defines how much different hard work you can do. Mining is hard work, chopping down trees is hard work, and of course the day cycles. Because you are a good honorable farmer, you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and by midnight you will get a warning that it's getting late, and by 2 o'clock you will collapse from tiredness. If you collapse on your farm, that's fine and dandy, but if you collapse anywhere else, there's a chance that you'll lose some of your items. And of course the fact that you are being carried to your farm by someone else and they might charge you for it. Those two restrictions can feel extremely daunting at the beginning of the game, because there's so many things you want to do and you have to pace yourself quite significantly, which some people will definitely find off-putting. I found it a bit frustrating myself, but I decided to stick with it, and I found it a rewarding experience, because there is certain things you can unlock that will make your life easier. There are upgrades available for your farming equipment that will make your life a lot easier. There are things you can craft that will make everyday management of your crops and all that good stuff a lot easier, but it is something that you unlock over time. patience definitely pays off. We just met the mayor of Stardew Valley and of course Robin the carpenter. She's the one you go to for upgrades to your house, for building other buildings and things like that. The reason I'm mentioning the game mechanics before you actually see them in action is because despite the on the surface simplicity of this game, it has an awful lot of depth to it. There's a lot of things to find, there's a lot of things to discover, there's a lot of things to just stumble across. And I have deliberately left certain aspects of the game out, because part of the charm is to discover them yourself even. But I'm going to show off the first day where we got 15 parsnip seeds, just to get you started from the mayor. We have a quest log, and cultivate and harvest the parsnip. That's one of our quests. And we have to meet the other townspeople, which there are 28. I'm just zooming in the view a bit, because I went to a 1920 by 1080 resolution. And in your house you will find the television. I will not encourage spending too much time watching telly, you should be playing games instead. No. But it gives you important information like the weather forecast, which is possibly the most important information, because it tells you when it will rain, and rainy days are good days for your farm, because on those days you don't have to water your crops. The rain will take care of that for you. Those are the days you have to spend, or you should be spending, on doing other things you want done, like gathering ores, gathering wood, fishing, all that good stuff that you don't have time to being a busy farmer. As you can see, when we start here, it's quite overgrown, and we have different tools available to work with. We have our axe for chopping trees, we have our hoe for tilling the soil, we have scythe to chop down grass, and certain crops that you plant will have to be harvested using the scythe. You have a pickaxe, and you can possibly get that might be used for mining. And of course you have your all-important watering can. You have to water your crops every single day. You miss out one day and your crops will die. They will wither and die in one day. They are not very tolerant to not being watered. So that is one restriction that you have to bear in mind before you go absolutely bonkers and plant 400 items in your farm, because it is very, very tempting to do so. You plant your first few crops, you harvest them, you sell them, and then you buy bucket loads of seeds, because you can buy certain seeds that are relatively cheap. And then you plant your entire farm full of crops. And by the time you have done watering all your crops, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Suddenly you have very little time to do other things like visiting the shop, to buy seeds and to sell your crops and all that good stuff. And then you'll probably also find that you have very little energy left, which is, as you can see in the bottom right corner. You start with a very limited inventory, but you can purchase upgrades for your inventory. And of course, very importantly, you can craft storage boxes, which I can highly recommend doing early, so you can get as much free space as possible. Just having these 10 slots initially is not very useful, and if you're out and about a lot, probably you leave your farming tools stored away, so you have space to pick up stuff. But of course you might bump into something you want to mine, or a tree you want to chop down, so having those tools around at all times is probably a good idea. You can, for most cases, safely leave your scythe, your watering can and your hoe behind. Just watering these seeds, As you can see, the color change between being watered and not being watered is slight. And that is one thing I would have loved from this game, is that there was a mini icon showing um, a drop or something to let you see much easier that you had actually watered it, because later on, once you start building up your farm to a very large extents, it can be very, very difficult, especially if you have a crowded area, to see what has been watered and what hasn't been watered. Social. Here are the people we can meet, and you can see there's a present at the right side and two marks next to it. The people you meet, you can develop relationships with, and you can get married or same-sex relationship. The game is very open-minded in that regard. But the person marks the fact that you can give every NPC in the game 2 presents per week. You can only give them 1 present per day, but you can give them 2 per week. And if you give them loved presents, they will think higher of you, or highly of you. And by developing relationships, you can become involved with them in a relationship, or you can just be very good friends. And that is why that some of them are listed as being single. That is because they are potentially eligible. When you build up friendships, they will have special small cute cutscenes depending on location, time of day, so on and so on. And they might send you recipes, cooking recipes, crafting recipes, or food, or other things that you might find valuable. As you can see, looking at the bottom right corner, we've been tending our farm a bit, and we've been chopping a few trees, and we are almost out of energy. And the start can feel rather punishing, because you run out of energy. It feels like you run out of energy very, very quickly, and you can't really craft any food that you can eat to restore your energy. So it becomes a bit... But it's all about long-term planning. A bit of patience with this game goes a long way. To showing off a rainy day, perfect, we don't need to spend time watering our crops, so we can spend a bit more time and energy, if we can actually get to them, to chop down some trees, because of course wood is used for crafting stuff, and it's used for operating your house and build farm buildings and things like that. So valuable resources to have. According to the day when our parsnips are ready for harvest, just to show off the end result. You can probably see there's one of them missing, and that is because the crows will happily snack on your crops, and you can build scarecrows in order to keep them away. And in order to do that, you need to level up your farming. As you can see, level 1 farming, we can now build scarecrows, and everything you do has some skill points related to it, so you will level up different skills. Some of the townspeople we can meet, we have an initial quest to speak to, or to introduce ourselves to every single one of them, so... And have you met my daughter Abigail? She's the one with the purple hair. The pale one with the purple hair. I still love that description. Of all the NPCs in the game, there are some stereotypes that are unavoidable, 28 of them, but they each have their own personalities in subtle ways, and for the scope of the game, I'm actually quite surprised. The calendar. Important, it marks birthdays and special events, but here's our seed vendor. We need to speak to him. And of course, their personalities can indicate what kind of presents they might like. They might talk a bit about a specific color that you might only get from a certain mineral or something, and they might be happy if you gave them the mineral that would create that color. Just a subtle hint. Be very mindful when you buy seeds of how long it takes for them to actually grow, because you can end up in a position where you plant something and then the season changes and everything that's related to the previous season will wither and die, and you can waste an awful lot of money planting expensive crops at the wrong time of the season. So it's something to bear in mind of. Each season is equivalent to a month, which is 30 days, 4 weeks, sorry, 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks. So you got 28 days per season, and it's just something to bear in mind. Cauliflower is possibly the most cost efficient, but I like my potatoes, so we bought some potatoes and we bump into Leia. And on the way out we are going to bump into the pale one with the purple hair, Abigail. Giving George a loved present. He likes leeks. He's a grumpy old git, but you know what? He's just, yeah, he means well. He's just a bit sad about his situation, that he used to be young and strong and now tied to a wheelchair, which doesn't sit well with him. Well, you can't blame him. It must be tough. And then we give Mayor Lewis a birthday present, and he's probably going to be very, very happy about a sardine. Sorry, I shouldn't giggle. He didn't seem only impressed by that. There's a special vendor that only shows up on Fridays, and they can that vendor can sell you things which are impossible to get elsewhere, or are seasonal based. So you might be able to get seeds that you can't get in any other season. Seeds that you can buy for fall, for instance, but you have to wait for fall to actually buy the seeds from the seed vendor. There's archaeology. You can dig artifacts out of the ground. Sometimes just the bones, but they are considered artifacts, and you can deliver them to be put on display and get rewarded for your exploration. Fishing. The cute little minigame, which is actually can be rather difficult, especially when you try to catch legendary fish. You sit and wait. As soon as you hear the sound, you left click. Any moment now. And then you using the mouse button. If you're playing with mouse, you can play this with gamepad. You want to keep that green bar around the fish. And some of the fish are quite gentle and won't put up too much of a fight, but some of the legendary fish are just absolutely bonkers to try and catch, especially with your basic bamboo fishing pole. But it's an enjoyable minigame, and once you start getting better equipment, it's quite refreshing. A lot of people end up spending a lot of time fishing, I think. There's something delightful about it. But we are specifically hunting a herring because we got a delivery request for a herring, which of course means that the person asking us to deliver said herring will be happy and also reward us for bringing that to them. See, Alex will be slightly happier. We also have some action in this game. It is partially to gather mining resources, but also to fight a bit. We were given a rusty sword and we can punch on some slimes. Yep, I punch slimes with my sword. I don't slash them, I don't stab them, I punch them with my sword, because I'm special. As you can see, there's a lot of different things to go around doing in this game, and In order to progress, you would have to do a bit of everything. But if you're playing this game inspired by this video or just in general curious, the first game you play, I would say just enjoy it. Just enjoy the ride. Don't worry too much about anything specifically. Try to improve your farm, try to upgrade your tools and all that stuff, but just take your time with it. There are certain achievements which are very time sensitive. You have to really push, you have to aim for getting them done from the start. You can't waste any time, and it becomes a bit grindy because you have to manage your time down to absolute perfection, basically, in order to achieve what you're trying to achieve, like getting a wife and 2 kids. Here we go, quickly shifting to Joja mod. There's 2 mini factions, I would call them. You can either support your local mini mod, which is all about you invest money to get certain amenities unlocked, or you can be of the natural type and deliver produce, crops and all sorts of stuff to the local town hall, which has been taken over by some very cheerful spirits. You are not condemned for selecting either of them. There's no good or bad selection, side, whatever. It's just doing it this way is all about gathering stuff, and if you go the mart way, you just have to deposit money to unlock the same things. You can see bridge repair for the entire collection. You could invest money in Joja instead and get the same thing. It's just entirely down to your playstyle, what you like. Do you like gathering stuff? Doing it this way is going to be much more time consuming, and you are locked into different seasons, whereas the other one you just have to earn money and put the money down. This is one of my other save games. I'm just going to show that how it can look after a while. In this save game I was pushing for certain achievements, so I haven't done an awful lot out of making my farm look special. But I got some farm animals, I can milk some cows, and I can pick some eggs, and I can later turn milk and eggs into mayonnaise and cheese inside the house. But we are coming towards the end of this video, and I hope I've inspired you a bit. Whatever the case is, Concerned Ape, you made one heck of a game. Super enchanting, super enjoyable, and I've clocked over 300 hours, and I will say that with a smile. I take my hat off to you, definitely. What an amazing game you've made. And on that note, I'm going to say thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time. Bye bye for now.